The desert was quiet, too quiet for men who knew what silence in a war zone meant. Dust clung to their skin, sweat burned in their eyes, and every nerve was strung tighter than a sniper's trigger finger. The Navy SEAL team had been in country for 6 weeks. They were exhausted, running low on morale, and their mission had suddenly gone sideways. The leader, Commander Blake Harlow, had always been calm under pressure. His men trusted him, not just with their lives, but with their sanity. But even he felt the crushing weight tonight. Intelligence had failed them, again. The target they were after wasn't in the compound. Instead, a heavily armed militia had surrounded the valley, cutting off escape routes. The SEALs were trapped in a hostile chokehold, pinned by machine gun fire from the ridge and mortars falling dangerously close. "Sir, we're boxed in," whispered Ramirez, the youngest on the team, as he crouched low behind broken stone. "If we don't get air support soon." Harlow's jaw clenched. They needed a pilot. Not just any pilot. They needed someone who could thread the needle between jagged cliffs and screaming enemy fire. Someone who could turn the impossible into survival. He grabbed his comms, voice steady though his heart hammered. "This is Phantom Actual. We need a combat pilot. Repeat, requesting immediate close air support." The line crackled with static. A few tense seconds passed, seconds that felt like lifetimes. Then came the reply. Calm, soft, almost too quiet for a battlefield. "Copy that, Phantom Actual. I'm inbound." Every SEAL froze. That voice, gentle, measured, almost like a whisper. It didn't sound like the usual gruff, battle-hardened aviators they were used to. It didn't even sound rushed, as though the chaos below meant nothing. Harlow keyed his mic. "Call sign, Raven. Raven, we've got cliffs on both sides, no clear run, and triple a fire lighting up the sky. You sure you're up for this?" A pause. Then that same quiet reply, almost like a secret shared between two souls in a storm. "I don't miss." The SEALs exchanged glances. Ramirez let out a low whistle. "That's a woman, sir." Harlow didn't care about gender, not here, not now. But the stillness of her tone, the certainty, there was something different about this pilot. She didn't roar or boast like others. She whispered like the storm itself answered to her. Moments later, the night sky shuddered with the thunder of jet engines. A dark silhouette streaked across the horizon, low and impossibly fast. Raven had arrived. The militia opened fire with everything they had, tracers clawing at the heavens, rockets screaming upward, but the aircraft danced between them, weaving through the inferno as though the pilot could see seconds into the future. "Holy, did you see that roll?" Ramirez gasped. The plane cut a brutal arc, unleashing hell on the ridge. Precision bombs slammed into enemy positions, shaking the valley floor. But it wasn't reckless fire. Every round, every missile seemed intimate, placed exactly where it was needed. No wasted motion, no wasted breath. "Raven, that was surgical," Harlow radioed, awestruck. Her quiet reply came back, steady as before. "I told you, I don't miss." The SEALs pushed forward, emboldened. With Raven overhead, the tide shifted. They broke through the enemy's chokehold, sprinting under cover of her strikes. But then, the impossible happened. A second wave of militia fighters flooded into the valley from the north, cutting them off again. "Sir, we're surrounded," Ramirez said, panic in his eyes. Harlow keyed the mic. "Raven, we need one last run, but the friendlies are mixed with hostiles. You can't drop without." "Mark your positions," Raven interrupted, calm as ever. "I'll take care of the rest." The SEALs lit infrared strobes on their gear. Enemy fire poured into the valley. There was no margin for error. One mistake, and she'd kill the very men she came to save. The aircraft dove. Time slowed. Through the haze of tracer rounds and explosions, Raven's jet became a phantom blade, carving the battlefield with impossible precision. Every shot landed inches from the strobes but never once touched them. She flew so low the SEALs could feel the air tear across their helmets. The militia didn't stand a chance. Within minutes, silence fell again, this time real silence, the kind earned only through fire and sacrifice. The SEALs emerged, shaken but alive. "Raven, that was..." Harlow's voice cracked, the relief hitting him all at once. "That was impossible." On the other end, a quiet breath. Then, "Not impossible, just necessary." The line went dead. The SEALs never saw her. Not that night, not ever. She was gone as quickly as she had come, swallowed by the stars. But her legend remained. Among warriors who had seen everything, her whispered words became gospel. I don't miss. Years later, men who survived that valley still spoke of Raven. Some swore she wasn't human, that no one could fly like that. Others believed she was an angel of war, sent only when death was certain. And a few wondered if she was just a pilot who carried silence like a weapon, a woman who turned whispers into salvation. But for Commander Harlow, there was only one truth. When the SEAL leader called for a pilot, and despair hung heavier than the desert night, her quiet reply stunned everyone. And it saved them all. So if you're listening now, let her story remind you of something. That heroes don't always roar. Sometimes, the strongest voices are the quietest ones. Sometimes, the deadliest aim comes from steady hands no one expects. And sometimes, the difference between life and death is just a whisper. If this story touched you, if you felt that storm in your chest, then don't let it end here. Share this moment, leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you believe in stories of sacrifice, courage, and the unseen hands that shape history, make sure you subscribe. Because somewhere out there, maybe tonight, someone like Raven is whispering into the dark again.